Dragalia Lost has a major problem. We have too many characters and not enough reason to use most of them, much less invest in most of them. So today, I'm going to be waving around my experience as a game developer to suggest a number of changes that could be made to Dragalia Lost to make more adventurers viable. My credentials can be found linked in the description. There are three major issues I want to discuss today, being content, kit design, and rewards. Starting with content, Dragalia Lost doesn't have a lot of it right now. Not to mention that almost all new content we get is a reskin of older content like challenge battles and raids. Story is refreshing because it focuses less on gameplay and way more on narrative, but we have a set release schedule for it. And I know new quests are not overnight projects, so while there's no quick fix for this, there is a longer term fix that many people have already been requesting, which is Randomized Dungeons. The problem Dragalia faces with Randomized Dungeons is that all of their map designs have been formatted beforehand. You can see in many of their maps that they reuse and recolor location assets all the time, but if you replay a quest, it will never change. My solution is to drop the fancy map design for a more basic map area, grid-based, where each new segment you enter has its own foes to battle, which can range from a fleet of units that can come in waves to mini-bosses. The map can easily be decorated with a few small details to make each location unique, or alternatively, the challenges can all take place in the same room, and moving to the exit returns the group to the start of the room, increments an invisible counter, and spawns a new set of enemies when they move into the room depending on how many times they've cleared it. All High Dragons and Agito have the same battle arena anyway, and it wouldn't even be that hard to make 5 custom rooms and a bunch of different preset enemy spawns. This type of content is also easy to update, where they can add in enemies from new chapters, bosses from events, or anything else and just throw it into the mix as they make it, without changing the content. Next up, I want to talk about kits. A lot of units have really niche kits, resistances that are never seen, and not to mention healers don't do a whole lot nowadays. Examples include Karina and Xander, who excel in Imperial Onslaught and challenge battles, and units like Pre-Spiral Hawk and Nefaria and Beautician Zardan. I have 2 fixes for this. First, going back to the random dungeons idea, while making gauntlets for each element would be okay, I think they should be rainbow, and the afflictions that are dealt in it should change each day, and can be checked beforehand. This allows many different units to at least have a chance at seeing use. Additionally, a longer gauntlet style challenge is likely to have an amount of chip damage that players take along the way, and they can even include some devastating attacks. It would be pretty simple to design it so that bringing a healer was optimal. There can even be single character HP checks that encourage players to bring a tank using an HP dragon. Next, I think afflictions need a new update. First, drop tolerance. It makes afflictions like sleep, stun, freeze, and blind almost useless right now, and curse can't even exist the way things are. Additionally, teams with full burn, poison, paralysis, etc. compositions will become better, as right now too many affliction units in one team max out the tolerance and make Punisher useless too quickly. Instead, start enemies with set inherent resistances to all afflictions. Easier foes can have low resistances, while endgame foes can have them really high or even at 100%. My recommendation is to put damage over time afflictions like burn, paralysis, frostbite, and poison around 40 to 50% resistance, blind somewhere between 50 and 80% since it still has a 50% chance to be useless per hit, bog sleep, stun, and freeze around 80%, and if curse actually comes out and stops enemies from using powerful attacks, 90 to 95% resistance. This makes full Punisher affliction teams a lot more useful, as afflictions will not only land less often, but not max out. Units like Joe, Delphi, and Hawk, who have conditions to raise their chance to inflict, become a lot better in this meta. Afflictions like sleep and stun will also have useful utility, but run the risk of not landing, which is a fair trade over not being used at all. Finally, I'd stick a cap on affliction stacks if there isn't one already at 3 stacks like bleed. And if Cygames wanted to make this change without affecting current content, they could always set high resistances and immunities to their endgame bosses, like Brunhilde is already immune to burn. Finally, there's the rewards. Presently, endgame content rewards players with weapons, which are mainly used to make said endgame content easier. In the High Dragon trials, this works to some extent, as the weapons you make are for different trials, essentially making the reward for clearing a High Dragon trial access to a different High Dragon trial, or in other words, more content. In Agito fights, however, not only are the weapons presently better than High Dragon weapons, they are for characters of the same element that face that specific fight. This makes the reward for clearing the fight an easier way to clear the fight, which you just did anyway. I think content should not reward itself, but as I already alluded to, clearing content should unlock new content. Kinda like progressing through areas and different enemies in a classic RPG. Weapons are part of it, as they add to the collection and provide different skins, but there can also be way more here, from Halidom decor to other weapon skins, or even down the road customizations for adventurers that are either cosmetic or kit related. That's all I have to say about this today. Let me know what you think of my ideas. I know Cygames is working to make more adventurers viable from what they've said in their This Month in Dragalia Lost, and I'm very curious to see exactly what they have in store. My personal theory is customizable skills, which we've actually already started to see with Valeria and Mitsuba. I would not be surprised if future mana spirals gave stances as well. Anyway, that's all for now.